So Eryka, what is Tornado Cash and how will this affect the future of crypto?
Yeah, Tornado Cash is one of these cryptocurrency projects that are really dominating the headlines lately. With Tornado Cash, what they are is they claim to, this from their website, improve transaction privacy by breaking the on-chain link between source and destination addresses. It's technically a crypto mixer, which basically receives multiple streams of transactions, and then it combines them to obscure the origin and the destination of the funds. So it's a crypto mixer that helps retain the privacy of transactions. Tornado Cash has been in the news a lot lately because it was used to launder, the quote is about like $7 billion worth of virtual currencies. And on Monday, the Treasury Department prohibited Americans from using Tornado Cash. They kind of even went so far to call the platform like a threat to US national security. And then they pretty much like blacklisted a bunch of entities and wallets and marked a bunch of wallets that had received money from Tornado Cash as bad wallets.
So I know seizing wallets or having, wallets frozen, that type of thing, is a concern that people have that are in the crypto. Some people say it cannot be seized and some say, well, why can't it? Can you speak to that?
So cryptocurrencies cannot be seized because they're bearer assets. And I would say even more so than gold. So gold can be seized because it's physical and they can take it from you, but it's a bearer asset in terms of that when I hold it, I hold the only copy of it. And the reason why it's kind of harder to seize than gold is because it is digital. So when you have your funds in a way that you have the keys to it and you don't have to share those keys. They're not like a physical thing, especially if you remember them in your head, then nobody can take your money. And this is something that I would say is really revolutionary for people that are in, let's say, third world countries and there's a regime change happening, or for whatever reason, maybe there's a like really bad weather effect, like a tsunami or a tornado or like a volcano blows up and they need to leave their place of residence quickly. People are able to literally remember 12 to 24 words in their head and still have their wealth intact. As long as they can get access to a cell phone and a Wi-Fi signal later on down the road, they're able to access their money. So that aspect of it is probably one of the biggest value adds of cryptocurrencies, is that you're able to keep your wealth intact.
So of those accounts that were blacklisted, do you know who has had this happen to them? What happens to them now that their wallets have been blacklisted?
Yeah, so they blacklisted any account that had received money from Tornado Cash. And cryptocurrency public addresses are like the address to your house. You can't help who sends you mail. Otherwise, we would be getting less mail from like spam mail from who knows where. So cryptocurrency addresses are the same way. So when this happened and they started blacklisting addresses of people that had received funds from Tornado Cash, somebody, we don't know who they are, started sending money to people like Shaq, Jimmy Fallon, Beeple, Randy Zuckerberg, like Ben Horowitz, Brian Armstrong, who's the CEO of Coinbase. These are wallets where people know that these are their wallets. They've been doxxed before. And so somebody started sending money from Tornado Cash to these wallets. And I don't know why they did. But it's just interesting because now these wallets are technically blacklisted, but they didn't do anything wrong. Someone just started sending money from Tornado Cash to them.
So what happens if your wallet gets blacklisted? What happens to the currencies you have in there? What can you do?
Because Bitcoin is so traceable and it's much more traceable than dollars, every coin has a history behind it. So there's this concept called dirty coins. And once a wallet is blacklisted, it actually gets marked on the blockchain as something that has been involved in illicit activity. And it becomes actually harder to use those coins because they've been marked with something that has illicit activity. Now, personally, I think that this is completely unfair. It's like saying that, dollar bills are no longer usable anymore because they've been used in a negative transaction. And that just reduces the fungibility fungibility of money, and that's not how money is supposed to interact. I can't help it if I've received, a dollar bill that has been used in something illicit that I was not a part of. But because Bitcoin is so traceable, they have that history on each coin. And so this is kind of why mixers exist. It's not always necessarily to launder money or to hide something. It's just that, there should be fungibility in money, and it's being taken away from us. So if a wallet is blacklisted and the coins are blacklisted, what happens is those coins do get marked as something that are unusable. If you try to put it into an exchange, your account will get flagged.
In a nutshell,
Okay.
what is the lesson for our readers in this, in a nutshell?
Maybe understand that, right now we're living in a time that is just one of those contentious times in history. And for whatever reason, we were dropped onto the earth to be alive during this time. And so what happens in these times of contention is there are people who, they do become afraid. It's the 1984 book all over again, where it's like, okay, you just submit, because otherwise it's just easier, right? And I cannot blame people like that. And I think maybe just to have hope right now that what's happening is like this technology is providing a way out. There was no really option beforehand. The only option that we have really is cryptocurrencies. And so it's not perfect. And there are a lot of developments, but even the fact that this could happen, right? Even the fact that we could send $100 million in aid to Ukraine overnight without having to deal with capital controls. This shows that this is an option that whatever happens in history, when these times of contention occur, there is always a way out. I feel like in Great Britain, what happened when people were really, really fed up was they moved to America. And now here we are, there's really no new land to move to, but now there's a technology that allows us to, for one, have money that's outside of the control of individual governments and cannot be arbitrarily created. And then for two, it's going to allow for an organized way to decentralize and get rid of the middlemen in a lot of the ways that we do business, a lot of the ways we interact. And the best part about that is that, this is the reason why there are certain amounts of people who have a lot of control, is because technology has brought us to this point where that world happens. And now we're continuing to move forward in this technological growth to where we can move back to decentralization and actually give power back to the individual. So it's not perfect, but it's definitely on the way there.
I think a lot of people right now are looking for the perfect solution. Mm-hmm. And really the point is, crypto is not perfect, but it is the best solution that we have. So it comes down to being a principled person, standing up for your principles and your beliefs, and do whatever you can to protect yourself physically and financially.